If I told you that some of the healthiest things you do every day are actually hurting your body, what would you say things doctors have recommended for years? Things most Americans trust without a second thought. In this video, we're breaking down 31 healthy habits, the kind that sound right but quietly wear down your health over time. And chances are, you're doing at least a few of them right now. Watch until the end because the last ones are the most shocking. Story 1. Granola the candy bowl pretending to be breakfast. Granola is the official breakfast of people who want to believe they just conquered a mountain, when in reality they conquered the snooze button 3 times and rolled out of bed like a survivor. It's crunchy, it's brown, it has seeds, and most importantly, it gives you the feeling that you're a functioning adult with life under control. You pour it into a bowl with quiet pride. Add almond milk because regular milk is for people who gave up. Maybe toss in a few banana slices, a subtle way of telling the universe you're a good person today. You look at the bowl and think, yeah, I'm doing this right. Here's the problem. You're eating candy. A lot of granola is basically crushed cookies mixed with sugar and oil, then sent to an elite marketing boot camp. You're not stupid. The box is just really good at lying. Story 2. Green smoothie, a milkshake that once did yoga. Green smoothies are marketed as the solution to basically every modern life problem. Tired smoothie, stressed smoothie, ate too much pizza last night, one smoothie in the morning, and boom, all sins forgiven. As long as it's green, you feel like you're heading in the right direction. You hold that smoothie and feel disciplined. Not someone who eats breakfast, but someone who consumes nutrients. Your body, unfortunately, does not care about that moral achievement. The sugar in smoothies, especially store-bought ones, is often so high your blood sugar goes on a full roller coaster ride. Up you go, feeling great. Then an hour later, crash. Hungry? Somehow worse than before. A lot of smoothies are basically milkshakes that went to yoga once and decided to make it their entire personality. You're not drinking it because you're hungry, you're drinking it because it makes you feel like a disciplined person. Story 3. Fruit yogurt, the Trojan horse. Fruit yogurt feels like the perfect grab-and-go breakfast. Small, cold, the word protein printed in big, confident letters. Looks extremely reasonable in your hand. You peel the lid, stir the fruit at the bottom, and tell yourself you just made an adult decision. No cooking, no thinking. Just eat and trust that this counts as healthy. Until you flip the cup over. The ingredient label in the back tells a very different story. Sugar is way up there on the list, sometimes even higher than protein. Some of those tiny cups contain enough sugar to make a can of soda nod respectfully. The shock isn't dramatic, just enough to make you blink twice. Because a lot of fruit yogurts are basically dessert in a breakfast costume. It wears athletic clothes, talks about wellness, but deep down it's still a cupcake that wakes up early. Story 4. Veggie chips potatoes wearing a vegetable hat. Veggie chips were invented to solve one very specific American problem, wanting a snack, without the guilt. They're crunchy, salty, colorful. They look like something a healthy person would eat while watching Netflix. The bag has pictures of kale, beets, carrots, just enough to convince you that you're sneaking vegetables into your life in a fun way. Reality is way less romantic. Most veggie chips are just potato or cornstarch fried, then lightly dusted with vegetable powder for the color. There's so little actual vegetable in there that if you called this eating veggies, a real carrot would feel personally offended. The funniest part, veggie chips usually cost more than regular potato chips. You're not paying to be healthier, you're paying to avoid admitting you're eating a snack. And unfortunately, your body is not impressed by the packaging. Story 5. Sports drinks for people who don't play sports. Sports drinks are a very American cultural phenomenon. Big bottle, neon colors, a name that sounds like a superhero. You haven't broken a sweat yet, but you're holding something that makes it look like you're about to run a marathon, or at least qualify for the Olympics. Reality check, you're just walking from the parking lot into the office. The funny part, a lot of people drinking sports drinks aren't doing sports at all. No 2-hour workout, no heavy sweating, no electrolytes lost worth mentioning. But they still drink it because it feels like they're active, healthy, and living a busy athletic life. The truth is, for most people, sports drinks are just sugar water with food coloring and confidence. The epic names don't make you healthier. And unfortunately, your body is not impressed by marketing. It just sees extra sugar and quietly wonders why you didn't just drink regular water and move on. Story 6. Fruit juice, nature's soda. Fruit juice sounds like a pure gift from nature. Orange is orange. Apple is apple. You drink a glass and feel like you just did something very right for your body. Somewhere a doctor is probably nodding in approval. Except there's one tiny detail everyone forgets. When you juice fruit, you remove almost all the fiber, the one thing that keeps sugar from bullying your blood sugar. So what you're left with is fruit-flavored liquid that hits your system at the same speed as soda. Drink fast, sweet fast, energy spike fast, crash just as fast. Your body barely has time to process what just happened. The funny part, the solution is painfully boring. Just eat the whole fruit, chew slower, stay full longer, and you don't even have to wash a juicer. But it doesn't come in a pretty bottle you can carry around, so somehow it feels way less exciting. Story 7. Fat-free dressing. Afraid of fat, in love with sugar. You did everything right. You chose the salad. Fresh green leaves, juicy red tomatoes, crunchy cucumbers. You look at that bowl and feel like you just made a moral decision. Then you reach for the fat-free dressing like a reward for all that effort. Here's the problem. When manufacturers remove the fat, they have to add something so it still tastes like food. And that something is usually sugar, salt, and an ingredient list long enough to make you squint. So your clean, virtuous salad gets drowned in a sweet, highly suspicious drizzle. The irony, the fear is misplaced. Fat isn't always the villain. But because we're scared of it, we casually pour sugar all over our vegetables and call it a healthy choice. The salad didn't betray you. The bottle did. Story 8. Protein bar candy with a marketing degree. A protein bar feels like a well-earned reward after a workout. You lifted weights for 3 sets, you're barely done sweating, and yet you already feel like you deserve something healthy. So you unwrap a protein bar with the confidence of someone making good life choices. It's sweet, chewy, covered in chocolate, and tastes suspiciously like candy. But that's fine because the word protein is printed big and serious on the wrapper. You trust that word way more than the ingredient list on the back, where sugar syrups and assorted sweeteners are standing very high in line. The difference between a protein bar and a Snickers is at least honest. It doesn't pretend to be part of a disciplined lifestyle. A protein bar, on the other hand, is candy that graduated from marketing school and knows exactly how to make you feel healthy while you're eating dessert after leg day. Story 9. Gluten-free, the imaginary halo. Gluten-free is one of the most powerful words on food packaging. The moment you see it, your brain relaxes. It feels like the product has been spiritually cleansed of all nutritional sins. Doesn't matter if it's a cookie, a pastry, or a snack. As long as it says gluten-free, you assume it's good for you. Here's the problem. Gluten-free does not mean healthy. A cookie without gluten is still a cookie. It still has sugar, fat, and plenty of things that make your dentist smile with optimism. In fact, many gluten-free products add more sugar and fat just to make up for the lost flavor. But the halo still works. Gluten-free sounds scientific, responsible, like you're taking your health very seriously. And while you're trusting those 2 magic words, the cookie is still doing exactly what a cookie does. Tastes good. And that's about it. Story 10. Trail mix from mountain climbing to Halloween. Trail mix started as a genuinely good idea. A handful of nuts, some dried fruit, enough energy to climb a mountain, go on a long hike, or at least survive a day without Wi-Fi. Simple, practical, purpose-built. Then we couldn't leave it alone. Trail mix got upgraded, add chocolate, add candy-coated pieces, add things that if dropped on a trail would cause ants to throw a full-blown festival. At some point, the nuts became background actors just there to support the candy's starring role. And that's how the original idea died. Trail mix stopped being fuel for hikers. It became a bag of candy wearing an adventure label. You're not eating it to keep going. You're eating it because you think, hey, there are a few nuts in here. It must be fine. Story 11. Diet soda, a prank on your brain. Diet soda feels like a quiet deal you make with yourself. You want the sweetness, the bubbles, that fun fizzy feeling without the calories. And diet soda shows up like a very confident lawyer promising you can have it all with 0 consequences. No sugar, no calories, sounds like a win. Here's the problem, your brain isn't that easily fooled. When you drink something sweet with no energy attached, your brain gets suspicious. It starts thinking something weird is going on here, and its response is very simple: crave more sweetness. Stronger now. So you drink diet soda to avoid sugar, and a little later you're suddenly hunting for cookies, candy, anything to complete the experience. Diet soda doesn't trick your brain, it just kicks off a long chain of cravings. And it all starts with a 0-calorie can full of promises. Story 12. Turkey bacon, the healthy Frankenstein. Turkey bacon usually shows up the moment you decide to do better. You're done with regular bacon because regular bacon sounds sinful, so you reach for turkey bacon feeling like you just dodged a major health bullet. It's turkey. That sounds innocent, responsible, basically a redemption arc. Then you take a bite and immediately sense something's off. The salt hits you before the meat does. Turkey bacon is often a very creative construction ground meat, salt additives and a bunch of ingredients stitched together by the sheer willpower of the food industry. It feels less guilty, but it's not necessarily better. At the end of the day, you didn't dodge the bullet. You just switched to a different caliber. And unfortunately, your body doesn't care about the moral victory attached to that choice. Story 13. Agave sweet but a traitor to your liver. Agave sounds very responsible. It comes from a cactus, and cacti live in the desert, surviving heat and hardship, which already makes it feel way healthier than plain white sugar. When you use agave instead of sugar, it feels like a thoughtful, educated adult decision, like you know something the rest of the world doesn't. There's just one small detail people forget. Before agave makes it into that cute bottle on your kitchen shelf, it takes a long trip through industrial refining. What comes out the other side is a syrup extremely high in fructose, the kind that makes your liver work overtime without any warning. Agave gets labeled healthy mostly because it sounds exotic and comes with a good story. Your liver, however, does not care about the story. It just knows it picked up another heavy shift called sweet but deeply untrustworthy. Story 14. Instant oatmeal breakfast built on lies. Instant oatmeal has a very special talent. It makes you feel emotionally hugged from the inside. It's warm, soft, smells like apples and cinnamon or brown sugar. It feels like you're starting the day in a healthy, responsible way. This is the breakfast of cold mornings, of adulthood, of fresh I'm going to do better promises. Until you look a little closer. Those tiny packets often contain enough sugar to sit comfortably at the dessert table. So much sugar that if you personally poured it spoon by spoon into plain oats, you'd feel slightly ashamed of yourself. The funny part, instant oatmeal still gets a health halo just because it comes in brown packaging with oats printed on the front. In reality, eating plain oats and adding sugar yourself is sometimes way more honest. At least then you know exactly what you're doing. Story 15. Whole grain cereal breakfast in cosplay. Whole grain cereal has an impressive skill. The front of the box and the back of the box seem to come from two completely different universes. The front is full of wheat stalks, healthy hearts, and promises of energy and a positive start to your day. You look at it and think, ah yes, I am a responsible adult, not a child eating sugar for breakfast. Then you flip the box over, and there it is, sugar showing up very early in the ingredient list. Sometimes so early it makes a chocolate donut pause and wonder if it's being judged a little too harshly. The funny part, it's not just kids falling for this. Plenty of smart educated adults with real jobs still believe that if cereal says whole grain breakfast must automatically be healthy. But breakfast can't cosplay as good food. It either is or it isn't. And sugar doesn't care how old you are. Story 16. Prepackaged salad the moment it turns into pizza. A prepackaged salad looks like an adult win. Everything's washed, pre-cut, neatly arranged in a clear box that basically says, this choice cannot be wrong. You open it and feel like you just did something very good for your health. Then you start opening the topping packets. A creamy dressing, crunchy croutons, a packet of shredded cheese. Every tier of a new packet moves your salad one step closer to something very familiar and very not green. Each little packet is a small, conveniently wrapped sin. By the end, you look down at your bowl and wonder what just happened. The salad tried its best, but salad can't save everything. Especially when you keep adding things that make it forget it was ever a salad in the first place. Story 17. Whole wheat bread, the brown color scam. Whole wheat bread is basically a reading comprehension test that a surprising number of adults fail. The packaging screams wheat in big letters. The bread is brownish, looks responsible. You toss it into your cart feeling like you just made a good health decision. You don't eat white bread anymore, you've grown up. Until you read a little closer. 100% whole wheat and made with whole wheat are two completely different sentences. They just look very similar when you're hungry and standing in a grocery store. A lot of brown bread is actually white bread with molasses or caramel coloring added to make it look more mature. The funny part, it's not just kids who get fooled by color. Plenty of smart adults still believe brown automatically means healthy. But bread doesn't get better just because it wears darker clothes. And your body reads ingredients better than you think. Story 18. Frozen yogurt, the 2000s dream. Frozen yogurt once convinced an entire generation that we had hacked life. Less fat than ice cream. That already sounds like a win. You walk into the shop, serve yourself, and feel responsible for not choosing ice cream like those other weaker people. Then you reach the toppings bar, and that's where all discipline dies. Crushed Oreos, brownie chunks, gummy candy, chocolate syrup flowing like a waterfall. You pile it all onto your low-fat yogurt and tell yourself it's still fine because the base is yogurt. A healthy choice was made at the start, right? What you end up with is a low-fat dessert absolutely drowning in sugar twice the size you originally planned. But nutrition isn't the main point here. The real magic is collective self-comfort. Everyone's doing it. And for a brief moment, the entire store agrees to pretend this is still a healthy choice. Story 19. American sushi, a deep-fried fish burrito. Sushi was originally meant to be elegant. Fresh fish, reasonable rice, small balanced bites. Then sushi arrived in America and immediately learned an important lesson about creative freedom. Cream cheese showed up, mayo showed up, then a whole lineup of rich sauces drizzled on like it was part of the job description. Once your sushi roll is deep-fried stuffed with cheese and drowned in spicy mayo and sweet sauce, it's no longer sushi. It's a fish burrito wearing a Japanese hat. The culture stayed in the name. The content took a long vacation. Then you pick up the roll and notice something very American. It's big. So big you have to mentally prepare before taking a bite. And that size says everything. This isn't a light, delicate meal. This is a statement that if you're going to eat healthy, it should at least leave you very full. Story 20. Rice cakes, the snack of betrayal. Rice cakes are the kind of food that makes you feel like you're dieting even when you're not entirely sure what you're eating. They're light, dry, so aggressively neutral in flavor that they feel like the choice of a disciplined person. Taking a bite of a rice cake is basically biting into air with a shape. The problem is that feeling lasts about 5 minutes. Rice cakes aren't filling, they're not fun, and they don't provide any real satisfaction beyond a brief moral victory. You finish one feeling proud that you didn't choose a real snack while your stomach quietly starts planning revenge. 20 minutes later, you're back at the fridge. Not because you lack willpower, but because the rice cake betrayed you from the start. It promised a diet experience without delivering energy, fullness, or joy. That's not food. That's a thin reminder that your body can't be fooled as easily as packaging. Story 21. Dried fruit, concentrated sugar. Dried fruit sounds like a great idea. It's fruit, just without the water. Small, convenient, easy to toss in a bag, and it makes you feel like you're choosing a healthy snack instead of candy. You grab a piece without thinking too much, because in your head, this is still fruit. Here's the issue. When fruit gets dried, all the sugar gets concentrated into a much smaller space. A small handful of dried fruit can equal several pieces of fresh fruit without the same feeling of fullness. You eat faster, you eat more, and it's way easier to lose track. The real surprise is when you compare sugar amounts. Small doesn't mean low. It just means gone very quickly. And before you realize it, that healthy snack bag is empty along with a sugar load you never meant to consume. Story 22. Coconut oil, from cooking oil to religion. Coconut oil has had an impressive journey. It started as just oil. Then somehow it became the solution to everything in modern life. People put it in coffee, cook with it, rub it on their skin, even swish it around their mouth like the human body will collapse without coconut oil. The funny part, coconut oil gets worshipped as a superfood while being extremely high in saturated fat. So high that if butter could talk, it would feel deeply misunderstood for years. But because coconut oil comes from a tropical plant and sounds natural, it gets forgiven for everything. Here's the truth. Coconut oil isn't evil. You can use it. Just don't worship it. It's cooking oil, not a life philosophy. And unfortunately, your body doesn't become more enlightened just because you add coconut oil to everything. Story 23, plant-based burger, a lab experiment wearing vegetables. Plant-based burgers sound green, clean, and wholesome, right up until you flip the package over and see an ingredient list longer than the iTunes terms and conditions. Soy protein, pea protein, this oil, that's starch. Stabilizers that sound like side characters from a sci-fi movie. It genuinely feels like you should put on a lab coat and sign a consent form before eating it. The sodium level, so high that one bite makes your blood pressure stand up and applaud. A cardiologist reading the nutrition label would probably sigh quietly while your heart starts drumming like it's listening to 1980s American rock. The funniest part, vegetables themselves are completely innocent. A carrot in the field never asked to be pulverized, compressed, chemically encouraged, and reborn as fake meat. Vegetables just want to be steamed, maybe lightly seasoned, and live a peaceful life. But no humans decided to turn them into burgers so we can eat them healthy. Very American logic. Anything can be a burger as long as there's enough salt. Story 24. Skim milk, the fullness paradox. Skim milk is marketed as the good kid of milk. Drink it and you'll get thinner, cleaner in both soul and waistline. The truth is a little ironic. When you remove the fat, you also remove the fat-soluble vitamins. It's like buying a movie ticket only to find half the screen missing. Same movie, very underwhelming experience. After drinking skim milk, your stomach feels like, okay, something just passed through. And 5 minutes later, your brain calls an emergency meeting. Are we still hungry? You're not hungry because you lack willpower. You're hungry because your body never got the memo that this was supposed to count as a meal. The funniest part is the misplaced fear. People fear fat like it's a moral failure, while the real problem is a stomach that never feels satisfied. Skim milk isn't evil. It just teaches a very American lesson. Sometimes avoiding the thing you fear most creates even more trouble. Story 25, vitamin water. Overpriced tap water. Vitamin water is living proof that marketing can turn plain water into a lifestyle. The bottle looks so healthy that just holding it makes you feel like you finished a marathon, even though you really just jogged from the couch to the fridge. Bright colors, hopeful names, one sip and it feels like you just did something great for your life. The truth is less exciting. Your body absorbs very little of those vitamins. It looks at the bottle, nods politely, and mutters, "Thanks, but I'm good." Most of what you're drinking is just water with a hint of sweetness to help your wallet lose weight faster. The funniest part, the solution is painfully boring. Drink regular water. Eat fruit. No colors, no slogans, no expensive plastic bottle. But in very American fashion, the simpler something is the harder it is to believe. Because obviously, if it were just water and fruit, how would anyone charge 3 times the price? Story 26, juice cleanse your liver's overpriced vacation. Juice cleanses are marketed like a luxury spa retreat for your body. You pay a lot of money to drink juice and imagine your liver lounging on a beach chair wearing sunglasses sipping detox like it's on vacation. Reality check, your liver never asked for time off. It's still working full time, still doing unpaid overtime. Even when you're drinking nothing but carrot juice for 3 days straight. While your liver is busy cleaning up for free, you're hungry, tired, lightheaded, but somehow very proud. You post a story of a green juice with the caption, "Day 2, cleanse," like you just conquered Mount Everest. Your body is shaking, your ego is thriving. The funniest part, detox happens every single day, completely free, thanks to your liver and kidneys. But nobody brags about sleeping well, eating vegetables, and drinking water. Because let's be honest, that doesn't look cool, it's not expensive, and it definitely can't be sold as a trend. Story 27, detox tea or laxative. Detox tea is marketed as a magical flat tummy shortcut. You drink a cup, your stomach looks flatter immediately because you're sprinting straight to the bathroom. No magic here, just basic physics. When things leave your body, your belly gets smaller, temporarily. Influencers swear by it like they've unlocked a universal truth. They hold a teacup, flat stomach, perfect lighting, caption, "Changed my life." What they don't mention is that their entire spiritual journey for the next 30 minutes takes place in the bathroom. Reality is way less glamorous. Detox tea doesn't remove toxins, it just pushes you to poop harder than usual. That light, empty feeling, that's not health, that's your body asking, "Why are you doing this to me?" A flat stomach comes from regular meals, enough sleep, and patience. But none of that sells tea, so nobody posts about it. Story 2810-000 steps, a marketing slogan that refuses to die. 10,000 steps sounds sacred, like if you hit that number, your body instantly levels up. The truth is a little less magical. That number came from advertising. A Japanese pedometer needed a catchy slogan, and 10,000 sounded round memorable and very walking is health. Here's the issue: your body can't count steps. It doesn't sit there at 999 thinking, come back tomorrow. There's no holy switch that flips the moment you hit step 10,000. Some people feel great at 6,000 steps. Others hit 12,000 and still spend the entire day hunched over a laptop. What matters more than the number is movement. Walking, standing up, twisting, stretching, breathing. But those things are hard to package into a slogan. 10,000 steps is neat, clean, and easy to sell. Moving regularly every day is correct, just not sexy enough to print on a box. Story 29, activated charcoal. The trend that makes food worse. Activated charcoal looks instantly scientific, jet black, mysterious. Sounds like something borrowed straight from a NASA lab. So naturally you assume it's detoxing you on a molecular level. In reality, you're paying extra to eat food that looks cooler, not necessarily food that's better for you. Here's the problem. Activated charcoal is not selective. It absorbs everything: good, bad, innocent, guilty, no discrimination. Vitamins, minerals, nutrients. Your body was literally about to absorb, gone, like deleting files while your computer is still using them. Your body is just sitting there like, wait, I was working on that. The funniest part is how premium it feels. Black bread, black ice cream, black lattes, extremely Instagram friendly. You eat it feeling like a science-literate adult who understands detox culture. But the truth is pretty brutal. You're paying money to make your food nutritionally worse than the original version. Activated charcoal has a real place in medicine. It just isn't inside burgers, pastries, or coffee. But hey, if it's selling, it's clearly not because it's healthy. It's because it looks cool. Story 30, waist trainers, the 21st century corset. Waist trainers are sold like squeezing your body hard enough will scare fat into leaving. Fat, unfortunately, is not that easily intimidated. When you compress your waist, the first thing to disappear isn't fat, it's air. Your body gets squished. The fat stays right where it is, completely unbothered. What this really is, a corset with an Instagram marketing upgrade. Back then, women cinched their waists because of social standards. Now we do it for self-love. Huge progress. The only difference is now you can struggle to breathe and post an inspirational story at the same time. Yes, your waist looks smaller while the thing is on. Take it off and everything returns to normal, along with a quiet question from your lungs. What did I do wrong back there? Waist trainers don't burn fat. They just teach an old classic lesson. The fastest way to get a smaller waist is to stop breathing. And that's probably not a great long-term strategy. Story: the 31 positive vibes, only modern emotional toxicity. Positive vibes only sounds like a cute little blessing, but living with it long enough feels like living with someone who keeps telling you to just smile. You're sad, don't be. You're angry, think positive. You're exhausted, smile a little. And just like that, an entire generation learns a new skill: fake smiling, suppressing emotions, then blaming themselves for having emotions. Instagram is all sunshine aesthetic. Coffee fit bodies, inner peace. Real life is 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, your brain running a marathon of thoughts. But you don't say anything because it sounds negative. And negative doesn't fit the feed. The problem isn't positive thinking. The problem is banning yourself from being sad. Emotions don't disappear when ignored. They just relocate, usually into insomnia, anxiety, and a quiet habit of hating yourself. That's not positivity, that's avoidance with good lighting and a catchy slogan. There is no perfect lifestyle, no single diet that works for everyone, no mindset that keeps you happy, healthy, and right all the time. And honestly, that's okay. Your body doesn't need perfection, it needs you to listen. Your mind doesn't need positivity 24/7, it needs honesty. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel tired, sometimes you're confident, sometimes you doubt yourself. That's not failure, that's being human. Each story you just read isn't meant to change your life overnight. It's only meant to help you trust less blindly, blame yourself less, and understand yourself a little better than yesterday. And that's enough.